Welcome back to WatchAdvisor on YouTube. It's Alexander speaking, your host, and on your screen you see the IWC Schaffhausen Big Pilot's Watch Shock Absorber XPL. Don't forget to subscribe and to hit the bell to get our latest notifications. Before starting my review, it is important to notice or to mention that this IWC Schaffhausen you see on your screens and you will see through all the video is a prototype. It is a watch that was manufactured beginning of this year, and before I got it, went through many hands and was shown either to the retail or to the public if this was done, or to the press. So it is a prototype. It has some scratches on the sapphire crystal. You will see that the anti-refractive treatment has a scratch, and there are some other little impacts you see if you look closely. So please forgive me that I couldn't show you a new one. And of course, and this is important to mention, of course, this is never ever a watch IWC Schaffhausen would sell to the public or would sell. A complete new watch, of course, looks different, but for me it was important that I get a watch, that I can make the video and I can present you this exceptionally big pilot's watch, Shock Absorber XPL. What exactly do you see on your screens? That's a very particular watch from IWC Schaffhausen, coming from the experimental department, or a new created department that is now in charge of developing extraordinary watches that are able to do extraordinary things. And the watch you see on your screen is withstanding G-shocks up to 30,000 G. 30,000 G. The watch is a limited production of 3 times 10 pieces, a total of 30 pieces. Yes, and has a very, of course, incredible price in terms of it is expensive. Yes, it is an extraordinary watch. It has also, let's name it, an extraordinary price, and the watch is sold for 80,000 Swiss francs, 79,800 euro, or 83,600 US dollars. And let me run you through that extraordinary project. And of course, let me also point out that this is a watch that is, of course, based in terms of history on a watch that IWC manufactured in the year 1967. The watch I'm referring to is the IWC Schaffhausen Yacht Club reference 1811-1811. This was a yacht club with a extra shock resistant cushioning of the movement. The movement was cushioned, and in the case with some rubber rolls, and gave the watch an extra protection for shocks. The watch was waterproof, 100 meters, had a diameter of 36 millimeters, was powered by the legendary IWC movement, the 8541. That's a legendary and well-known caliber. The oscillating rate was 19,800 semi-oscillations per hour. So a watch really from the 60s. Cool watch, and it was part, or is part, of IWC's history and heritage. IWC was always a brand developing special watches for special needs, shock resistant, amagnetic watches, extra waterproof watches, etc., including the pilot's watches that debuted in the 1930s, being already amagnetic or protected against magnetism. During the era of the last CEO of IWC Schaffhausen, George Kern, the brand got a little bit less technical and more lifestyle-y. Of course, this was very necessary to bring the brand, make the brand internationally known, and George did a good job. Congratulations. But he a little bit forgot that IWC Schaffhausen has a very technical background. It is now the new CEO, Chris Granger-Hare, who brings back this legacy and is really focused on it and says, okay, we are a technical brand and let's show that we are able to do extraordinary things. And this is why the new department, the IWC experimental department, was created. And this is the first baby. This is the brainchild, the first brainchild of what they did. So let me show you the watch in details and explain you what you see here on the screens and what is worth 80,000 Swiss francs. This is a 44mm ceratanium case. A ceratanium is a mixture of titanium and a ceramic, a 44mm case. The thickness of the watch, as you see it now from the side, is 12.09 millimeters, and the so-called lug-to-lug distance, so the distance from one lug end to the other lug end, is 55 millimeters. I've been measuring this just now here in my studio. The weight of the entire watch, including the rubber strap and the pin buckle, as you see here, is 101 grams, and the case is waterproof up to 100 meters. And of course, the glass, as it is a pilot's watch, is also protected, secured against displacement by drops in air pressure. This will be the case when in a pressurized cabin, the pressurization would get lost and then the glass would literally be sucked out of the case. So the watch is completely protected. Let us get into the details about this absolutely incredible 30,000 G shock protection. Dr. Lorenz Brunner, who is the Department Manager Research and Innovation at IWC Schaffhausen, explained me and said to me, Alexander, when, for instance, a pilot in the cockpit hits a hard surface during the acceleration on deck, when he is literally blown from the deck to start the aircraft, we will probably have an impact from 300 to 1000 G only. I say only, this is already incredible. But the watch is protecting the movement in the middle to shocks up to 30,000 G. And how could this be achieved? The key to this performance lies in the spring's perfect form. You see there is a spring, you see it in golden color here. You can clearly see what looks like 4 different elements is one element. So it's one spring. The spring has been designed to evenly spread the stress across its length, and solving this challenge required advanced simulation tools and a painstaking design process. A sophisticated manufacturing process gives BMG bulk metallic glass BMG an amorphous macrostructure, with the result that it is significantly able to absorb huge shocks. So this was the theory, but now let me point out, I will turn the watch around that highlights this construction even more. You see the movement holding ring in light aluminium, as well as the entire movement has been redesigned. The 32 series, the automatic movement of IWC Schaffhausen used here. The correct name of the movement is 32115. The movement has been completely lightened by using a high-grade titanium that is used in aircraft. So the entire movement is 30% lighter than a normal version of that movement, including the movement holding ring that is also lighter. And the best thing to avoid problems is to have less mass, so the lighter the entire movement, and of course including its holding ring, the entire movement construction is, the less it will be affected to shocks. And once you have to imagine a shock comes from the side on the movement, on the case, the movement will move slightly in the case. So when an impact comes on the case of 30,000 G, the BMG, the bulk metallic glass spring, will absorb more than 80% of the energy, and the impact on the movement will only, I say only, be 5,000 G. But this, and this is something now that is tested with average sports watches. So the average sports watches go through a test in French called mouton pendule, where the watch is literally put like a golf ball, and then it is knocked away. I can simulate this here in your picture. The watch head is mounted, and then comes a weight that is accelerated and really knocks the watch away, and an impact of 5,000 G is simulated. And this is a test that is done with all sports watches, and they should withstand that. So the purpose of IWC was to bring down the shock impact of 30,000 G on the case with the help of that BMG spring down to 5,000 G, and this is something that movement can take. So are these 30,000 G only something IWC claims without any proof? No, of course not. So IWC collaborated with the Fracture and Shock Physics Group at the Cavendish Laboratory of Cambridge University in England, and the scientists used laser-based measurements, methods, and high-speed video recording to analyze the effects that impacts show on the movement. And during these tests, comprehensive tests, the watch showed that it is able to really absorb these 30,000 G impacts. One question that probably is on your lips, something you think about, is now, does this kind of super shock protection help you when you're using the watch, e.g. for playing golf, or using it when you are using a mountain bike on the rough conditions, or doing some motocross? Yes and no. Of course, a little bit of a help is there, but this construction, this spring really eliminates huge shocks, and not those small shocks that are in a range from 100 to maybe 120 G. Every watch, every normal sports watch that is, as I just explained to you before, tested with the mouton pendule up to 5,000 G can withstand easily golf playing. That's not a difficult exercise for a watch. And so also these, let's say, small shocks compared to those 30,000 possible G are not really taken care of by the spring. It is the movement and can easily go through those micro shocks. The BMG spring will really take care of huge impacts on the movement, and you can easily use it, of course, when you want to do some rough things with the watch. So now a question that comes up also might be, some of you, I explained already, as I said, the movement is able to move around in its case because it is completely free. It is fixed by the spring, so it is moving around about 1 millimeter. So of course, the winding stem here had to be built in a specific way to give enough liberty to be able to make the movement flexible, to eliminate, to give the spring the possibility to absorb those shocks. So the winding stem has those 1 millimeter of space, so the movement can really freely move around. And there is a special crown with a bayonet fitting that has been developed. And you can see I'm turning here, and it is about, let's say, 90 degrees. You turn, then you open. And this is a special bayonet fitting you have here. And when it is closed, the winding stem more or less is taken out of action and can freely move, follow the movements, follow those 1 millimeter movements of the case when the impact comes, and is absorbed by the bulk metallic glass spring. So this construction was at least as complicated. It is a patent that IWC now shares with the external source that did the construction together with IWC. It is a company that is specialized on the construction of high-tech crowns, and it is a world premiere, and it was at least as complicated to manufacture and to construct this crown with the bayonet fitting, so that the winding stem can individually or independently move around and do the moves the movement will do when these impacts come on the case. I of course also asked the question, was it necessary to do some special technical adaptations to the movement? No, absolutely not. The only thing, as I just mentioned before, is that IWC took away some weight. The less weight you have to manage, the better it is. So the lighter the entire movement is, the better it is. So elements of bridges and other elements of the movement have been built in an ultra-light, ultra-resistant and durable aluminium that is also used in aircraft technology. But the escapement is a regular escapement. It's a Swiss lever escapement. It's a regular hairspring. It's not a silicone hairspring. As you all know, the patents are still there that protect these developments of Patek Philippe, Rolex, the Swatch Group and Ulysse Nardin. The patents will last until 2023, and only in 2023 Richemont Group can start using silicone hairsprings. So this is a classical hairspring. Some elements in the escapement are made out of silicium. Meanwhile, yes, IWC has of course started to add some extra magnetic protection, but this is a regular movement for the specialists among you. It's a 20.2 movement, a escapement, so a very good one. 4 Hertz, 28800 semi-oscillation, and the watch has, or the movement has, a power reserve of 120 hours. Is there superluminova on the dial, on the hands? Yes, here comes our loom shot. You clearly see that there is lots of superluminova being applied on the indexes, hands, and very good to see also the triangle positioned at 12 o'clock. This will, in case it is necessary, help you to define where is 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So no doubt about it, once you look on the dial, it is now 10 past 10 and nothing else. What might be the purpose of IWC Schaffhausen manufacturing such an extreme watch that has, honestly speaking, no real use in daily life? Who wants to be affected to a shock of 30,000 G? Anyone, you wouldn't survive it. The purpose of doing this is, the name already says it, on the dial XPL is experimental, and this refers to the IWC Experimental Engineering Division. Dr. Lorenz Brunner. Lorenz is head of the department, and it is IWC now going back to its roots. Christoph Granger, the CEO, finally brings IWC back to those developments IWC was famous for in many years ago. And this is a good development, this watch makes no sense in daily use. Yes, it is 80,000 Swiss francs, extremely expensive. Only 30 pieces are made, 10 per year, 10 this year, 10 next year, and then the year after. And as I heard, those 30 pieces have been pre-ordered or are almost all sold. So it's not a question of selling those watches. It is a question to bring IWC back to what it was, a company developing, a company pushing the limits, a company showing to what the engineering spirit of the people working there are able. And Chris, you have done a good job here to reintroduce this side of IWC. Besides of being glamorous, besides of being the brand that is also a brand that is worn also for lifestyle purposes. Yes, why not? You have plenty of watches, but I think it is necessary that IWC will continue to develop such watches. And believe me, once the technology will be available for IWC that silicone hairsprings are something they can use, I can imagine that IWC Schaffhausen will very much push the limits also in terms of amagnetic watches, anti-magnetic resistance. IWC will push the limits in many other areas as well, and this is only the beginning, and I'm happy that they're doing it. And don't consider this a watch that has any real sense. You don't need it. It is an experimental watch showing what is possible. It is a limited edition. It is a watch that really shows to what extent technology today is able to push the limits also in modern mechanical watchmaking. And this is the purpose of doing this, and I'm happy that IWC got back to this track and is now again back in this field, showing and pushing the limits. I'm really happy. Before saying goodbye to you in this video, I also want to mention one thing. IWC's next big launch will be the new Ingenieur, the famous technical looking watch designed by Gérald Jantin. And the watch, the Ingenieur, when it will be backed, believe me, will take some advantage of the technology that is implemented here. I expect them to use a kind of a shock absorber in the Ingenieur, maybe not delivering 30,000 G, but less, but still very much protecting the movement in the Ingenieur case. And as the watch started, or the beginning was in 1967 with the Yacht Club, with that construction, with the cushioned with some rubber rolls. The movement was cushioned. This is now the version 2021. IWC is continuing, and yeah, see it as this. Don't question too much if there is a practical use of 30,000 G. I said it before, even a regular watch you buy, a sports watch, is with that Mouton pendule tested up to 5,000 G and will easily withstand shocks you apply on the watch, or that are applied on the watch when you play golf or you go mountain biking, etc. So there is no real practical use. It is the beauty or the fascination of a brand pushing the limits, of an experimental division of Dr. Lorenz Brunner and his team really pushing those limits and showing us what is possible. Thanks for watching. Your comments are welcome. What do you think about such projects? Is it good? Is it something you like seeing from watch brands, or shouldn't watch brands not focus on doing such things? Let me know in the comment section your thoughts. I'm very keen to read those. And stay tuned on WatchAdvisor on YouTube. As IWC Schaffhausen, we are also pushing the limits and always trying to bring you good and new stuff on your screens in full 4K quality. See you soon. Bye-bye.